Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video I will walk you through how to create a frequency distribution table in SPSS. Please pay close attention. Okay, what is a frequency distribution? A frequency distribution is simply a table or chart that shows how often each value or range of values occurs in a data set. I believe you must have seen one or two projects, thesis or dissertation, and in any of these you will see either a table or a chart. Those things are what we refer to as frequency distribution, and it enables the reader to quickly pick the important points in the data set as it shows how often or how frequent a value or a group of value or range of values appear in a particular data set. Frequency distribution helps researchers to also understand the patterns in the data, such as the number of people who selected each option in a survey or the distribution of a test score. If you gather the test score of 50 students, for instance, in a class, by the time you present the scores in a table or in a chart, you will quickly identify how many people scored 10, how many people scored 20, how many people scored 15. And one important thing I also want you to know is that frequency distribution is used for categorical data. For example, data like gender, like classes of cars, other ones like age groups, and so on and so forth. So when you are dealing with categorical data, you need to make use of frequency distribution table to visualize the data set. So in SPSS, a frequency distribution table helps you as the analyst to see how your data is distributed. Also, it helps to identify common or rare value. For instance, if 30 students out of 50 students scored 20, by the time you present, you visualize your results using table or chart, you will quickly identify those students that scores that particular score, that means that has that particular score 20. Then you'll be able to know that, okay, out of the 50 students, 20 people scored 25 or 20 people score 30. Also, if it happens that one of the students scored 50-50, then once you see the table, you will quickly know that, okay, out of the 50 students, one of them scored 50 over 50 or 100 over 100. Another point is that frequency distribution helps researchers to detect errors or outliers in a particular data set. I've done different videos on how to detect outlier. Please check through our channel, particularly the SPSS training playlist. You will see videos on how to detect outlier. So by the time you visualize your results using frequency distribution, you will quickly know whether there is a value that is totally different from other ones, or there is a category that is totally different from the other categories. Another point is that it simplifies data interpretation. Table and graph can easily be interpreted even by a layman, unlike when you put everything in words. So it helps to simplify data interpretation. Now, what are those things you need to look out for, or those things that you will see when you conduct your frequency distribution using SPSS? The first thing you will see is the value or categories. And this column lists all the unique values or categories for the variable. For instance, for variable gender, now we have two categories, the male, the female. So under this particular headings, that is value or categories, you will see male, you will see male. If you run a frequency analysis on a variable called satisfaction level with options like very unsatisfied, neutral, satisfied, very satisfied, each of these will appear under this particular category. So when you have your results under value or categories, you will see very unsatisfied, unsatisfied, neutral, satisfied, very satisfied, and also if there is any other one, you will see everything there. So you will be able to quickly identify how many respondents select very unsatisfied, satisfied, unsatisfied, and so on and so forth. And for a numeric variable such as age, you will see all the data. If the age is from 10 to 50, 10, 21, 22, 23, 24, you will see everything. So that's why it is not advisable to use frequency distribution for continuous data. For continuous data, you can just make use of descriptive analysis, because you will have a long list of values or category when you use frequency distribution for continuous variable or data. The next thing that we see is frequency, and this is the count of how many times each value appears in a data set. The other time I mentioned very satisfied, very unsatisfied, unsatisfied, neutral, satisfied, and very satisfied. So now, under frequency, you will be able to see the numbers of those that are satisfied with the product you are testing. For instance, if out of 100 respondents, only 2% pick satisfied, then under this frequency, you will be able to see the number, that is 2. And if it is 10 people that pick very unsatisfied, under frequency, you will also see 10. So for instance, if 10 people selected satisfies, the frequency for that category is going to be 10. That's what I just explained. And the point is that this particular option provides a quick snapshot of which value occurs most or which one occurs frequently. For instance, in a sample size of 100, frequency will enable you to know that, okay, out of 100 respondents, 90 people are satisfied with your product. So because you will see 90 under frequency, that is for satisfied. And the next thing you will see, the next option is percentage or percent. So this is the percentage of the total respondents that each value represents, including the missing value. So for instance, if out of 100 people, that is, if your sample size is 100 and it is only 10 of them that picked satisfied, then the percentage column will show you 10%. Is that clear? So it is just very straightforward. The percentage will appear under percent, and you will certainly see 10% there. You don't need to do the calculation yourself. SPSS will do everything for you. The next thing that you also need to take note is valid percent or percentage, and this particular one is similar to the percentage column, but the only thing that distinguishes this one from the previous one is that valid percent excludes the missing data. So for instance, if you add 5 missing responses out of 100 now, the valid percentage will be recalculated based on 95 valid responses. Instead of using 10%, the calculation will be based on 95 sample size. Why? Because 5 of your respondents fails to provide options or fails to pick any option. So those 5 will be excluded in the calculation. And I need to tell you that this particular column is useful when you want a more accurate representation of your data. Unlike percentage that's add up the mixing responses. For valid one, you will be able to see that, okay, it is only 95% that provide answers to this particular person, and the percentage here will reflect the total number of people that select a certain option with respect to the total valid respondents or responses. The next point that you also need to take note is the cumulative percentage. And what does this means? This one simply add up the valid percentage as you move down the table. For instance, if for satisfied you have 10% and for unsatisfied you have 20%. Cumulative, the first one for cumulative percentage will be 10, the next one will be 30, because it's going to add the next percentage to the previous one. So that's why it is called cumulative. So at the end of the day, you will have 100%. So now let me take you to SPSS and show you how to estimate the frequency distribution table as well as chart. But please take note, frequency distribution is used for categorical variables such as age group, gender, and so on and so forth. Here I have my work file opened, the SPSS work file, and if you look at the data, this is the variable field, and here we have the data field. If you look at the data, you see that the first column is ID, the next one is sex. So sex here is a categorical variable, height is a continuous variable. But let me quickly show you that. Here you can see here the measure ID is scale, that is continuous variable. Anywhere you see scale, it means that it is a continuous variable. If you don't really understand this aspect, please check the playlist under this particular SPSS training. You will see one of our videos that distinguishes or that explains the differences between the three types. For sex now we have nominal, and for height also is a continuous variable. We have scale. Also for job categories we have ordinal, because there is an intrinsic difference. So and for income, income is also continuous variable, so that's why we have scale. So now if we want to use frequency distribution, now we can only use it for sex, then job category. Another one is employment status. Next is state. This should be age group. So let's go back to data field, then we just use it for sex, job category, and exercise. So now to do that, you go to analyze. So when you get to analyze, you move to descriptive. So from descriptive you move to frequencies. So you click on frequencies, and here we have all the variables in this particular work file. So now what you need to do is to identify the variables that you want to analyze and move it to this particular column. To do that, you just need to highlight. You click on the variable, for instance gender, you click on it, then you click on this arrow. Once you click on this arrow, it will come to this particular column. So this, then if you want to do everything, if you want to move the variables together, you can just highlight, you press shift on your keyboard, then you click on the variable, highlight the next one. Do you do exercise? You click on it. You press control on your keyboard, then the next one, employment category, you click on it, then the next one, which is age group, you click on it, then you press this button. Now we have all the categorical variables here. Don't mind the icon. If you want to know more about this, please check our channel. The difference is just that here the variables are not arranged. The categories, there's no arrangement, there's no intrinsic difference. But for this one, which is nominal, but for ordinal it is arranged. Maybe very satisfied, unsatisfied, very satisfied, neutral, unsatisfied, very unsatisfied. So that's just the main difference. So now to do the analysis proper, you can just click on these statistics. Then we have some options here. If you are interested in any of these, you can just select it. But here, particularly the distribution, if you want to look at the skewness, kurtosis, you can just select it from here. You don't need the mean, the mode, because this is a frequency distribution. So here I'm not going to select anything. Now charts, if you want a bar chart, what you just need to do is to select a bar chart. If it is a pie chart, then you select a pie chart. If you want histogram, then you select histogram. So whatever options you want to choose, just make sure you select it here. But in this case, I will just select bar chart, then I'll click on continue. The next thing I will do is to click OK. Now I will have my results. Okay, now this is the frequency distribution table. You can see the first table is the summary of all the data sets. If you look at the first table very well, you can see that we have valid and mixed. In this particular data set, we don't have any mixing data, so that's why the mixing is 0 0. Okay, for employment status, we have two variable two data. That simply means that two of our respondents did not provide answers to this particular question. But for gender, we have 200. For employment categories, we have 200. Exercise, we have 200, and age group, we also have 200. So that simply means that all the respondents supplied the data or provided answers to those questions. Now you can now begin to look at the table one after the other. If you want to use these tables for your project, thesis, or dissertation, what you just need to do is to first copy everything to Microsoft Word or you export. Then from there, you now merge the table. I mean, you need to come up with a very big table whereby you have the frequency on top, then you have the variables, maybe by the left or wherever you want to put it. But let me quickly show you what I discussed or explained in the PowerPoint the other time. You can see here we have, this is value or categories, this particular column, the first one. And if you look at it very well, you can see that we have female and males. So those are the two categories we have for gender. Gender is a variable. How many categories do we have for gender? We have two, male, females, and the third two options here is the total. So now from frequency, you can see now that out of the 200 respondents, 108 happens to be females, while 82 are what? Male. So from here you can quickly identify the total number of male and females that attempts or that you administer the questionnaire to. So now if you look at percent, now we now have the percentage. So if you divide this by 200, you will have this particular figure. If you divide this by this, you have this particular figure. You can see the numbers of females here is far greater than that of males, so that's why the percentage is greater. So if you want to interpret this now, you can just you can say that over 50% of the respondents are females, while 46% are male. Or you can say 100 respondents happens to be female, while 92 are male. Then here we have valid participants, valid percentage. The reason why the value is the same is because there is no missing data. Assuming we have one or two missing data, then the percentage here will certainly be different from this particular one. When we get to employment table, I will show you that. Now you can see the cumulative percentage. Of course, I explained this the other time that the first one will be the first percentage, which is 54%. Now the next one is 100. How do we come up with this? How do we arrive at this 100? It's just the addition of 46 and 54. So that is how the frequency distribution table looks like. Now let me take you to the employment status table. Okay, now here we have employment status. You can see now the categories or the values. Here we have two categories as well, the permanent as well as the casual worker, the permanent worker as well as the casual worker. But if you look at this table very well, you can see we have system missing. And in case you don't know what system missing means, please also check our channel. Also, I will put the link of that particular video in the description of this video. You can just click and watch the video, you will understand the difference between system missing and the other type. But what this simply means is that there are two respondents fails to provide answer to these particular questions. They left it blank, so that's why we have the system missing. And this system missing is because it has been coded as the backend of this particular work file. So that's why we have it here. Now you can see the frequency. Out of the 200 participants that were surveyed, 131 happens to be permanent workers, while 67 are casual workers. And here we have the value of the valid percentage is different from that of the percentage, because valid percentage it has accounted for the missing value. So that's why we have a lower percentage. But in this case, missing values or data are not excluded in this particular calculation. That's why the percentage is higher. At the end of the day, we have this particular one, cumulative percentage. Make use of the valid percentage. And if you want to present this table in your thesis, project, or dissertation, please make use of the valid percentage, because it gives accurate picture of your data. That is all that I have for you in this particular video. In case you need more explanation on one area or the other, you can just drop it in the comment section. We will certainly attend to it. So please don't forget to like our video, share it with your colleague, and importantly, subscribe to this channel so that you can be informed when we drop a new video. Thank you.